The 2016 Uganda Demographic Health Survey and UNICEF Report 2020 indicated that 1 out of 5 women in Uganda engage in sexual activity before the age of 15. 64% have sex before age of 18, while 34% of women aged 25 to 49 are married before the age of 18. On a global scale, Uganda is ranked 16th among 25 countries with the highest rates of child marriage, according to UNFPA UNICEF Report 2019. The proportion of teenagers aged 15 to 19 years who began childbearing remain high, though it has been progressively declining over time from 43% in 1995 and stagnated at 25% since 2016, according to the Uganda Demographic Health Survey 2016 and UNFPA 2021 report. The lockdown on schools due to COVID-19 pandemic affected the social protection systems for adolescents, especially girls, which led to an increase in cases of domestic violence, defilement, child marriages and teenage pregnancy across the country.
Alone, in a study that was conducted by the UNFPA, over 354,000 girls got pregnant just during that period between March and December 2020.
Nakadaya Safina and Tibesigwa Brenda are teenage mothers in Iganga district in Busoga region. He used to give me 1,000 shillings. The boys, after impregnating you, they deceive and abandon you. I got a man who deceived and promised to marry me, but later I realized I was pregnant. Nakadaya's mother, Nabide Hajira, says the girl has interest in going back to school, but she's constrained with finances. A member of village health team in Iganga has called upon government to support these children return to school. I feel hope when I want to return these girls to school, but in the situation I am in, I feel Kadaya Safina wants to go back to school and has hope, but her parents do not have money. A probation officer in Iganga says they have trained model parents to see how best they can raise their children.
To act as good examples to other parents so they can borrow a leaf from them on how have they done it and what can they borrow from those that have done it better, to see that their children are brought up in a better way to become better citizens.
The culprits of teenage pregnancy are the girls' fellow peers, the boys within their age brackets, and not cross-generational sex. Girls and boys at home during holidays have time to interact because of redundancy. The COVID-19 cases exposed relatives and neighbors of the girls to be culprits of this sexual violence against them.
Most of the perpetrators of sexual violence or violence against children threaten them and coerce them to make sure they keep quiet. But we need to empower these children to speak up.
They are people whom the children feel comfortable around. You know, they put up, a certain relationship where a child feels so comfortable. They'll come opening up, they'll come running, and then somehow, unfortunately, these people abuse the trust that these children are putting in them.
Uganda Child Helpline 116 alone, in the period of 2020, received 199 cases, reports of children who were abused sexually, not just abusing, but sexually abused by their own biological parents.
The men who sexually abuse the girls take advantage of their ignorance about sex and reproductive education, not excluding their puberty stage that complement their body appearance and lower them into sexual activity, while others fall victim of teenage pregnancy when perpetrators approach them with money to meet their basic needs due to failure of some parents to afford basic needs of life to their children. While some parents have failed to build a good parent parent-to-child relationship contributes fear among the children and concealment of issues affecting them in their daily life.
Sometimes they cannot approach their parents at home and ask them, Daddy, I need to buy more pads. Daddy, my underwear is worn out, my panty is worn out. That these things which actually got them into this sex can be provided at family level. If only there is open discussion between the girl and her parents or the guardians.
Can give them age-appropriate information, where I know that if I have maybe breasts forming or my body is changing, it doesn't mean that I am ready for sex. Because sometimes the perpetrators take advantage of that. They'll tell them, look here, this is how you look like. And because of the adolescence and the body changes and the pressure that it puts on these children, sometimes they try out things.
The rural girl coming from a family that is economically and socially disadvantaged is most prone to abuse. Although the legislation on defilement can protect the girl child, the one for prohibition of marriage to underage girls has been violated.
Because once, for example, the Defilement Act is implemented, those who get prosecuted and actually charged accordingly, that acts as a deterrent to other men in the community. But if communities always get to know and actually witness the fact that a girl can get defiled, impregnated, and the matters are settled out of court, out of police, then other men do not see why they should keep their hands off young girls.
Government is also working with NIRA to ensure every birth is registered to have justice for victims of sexual violence served.
What's government doing with the culprits? We fail in many cases because the parents go out and talk with the perpetrators and they say, my child was of age, when actually the child is not of age. When a child has a birth certificate, the case becomes easier to pursue in courts of law rather than parents talking out and getting small tokens from the perpetrators and exonerating the children on grounds of age. That my child is of age when actually it's not, the child is not of age according to the law of the land.
There is also a concern of communities shifting the blame from the culprit to the victim of defilement, which experts say must stop. Government, through Ministry of Education and Sports, developed and disseminated guidelines for school re-entry and retention of girls who gave birth in 2020. Experts and civil society activists recommend that school administrators create an enabling environment for the pregnant girls to study and complete their final exams.
We've had isolated cases of scenarios where children have been bad. Even in the recent exams, we were happy that actually the ministry responded to some of the cases that had come up where some head teachers were barring girls who were pregnant from sitting the exams. So we want to encourage that beyond launching these guidelines, beyond having these campaigns, how do we make sure that enforcement happens? Is it possible to send a circular out to all the schools, letting
Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development developed and disseminated parenting guidelines to equip parents with nurturing, coaching, loving and skills for protecting their children, guidelines for return of pregnant girls to school to avoid the vicious circle of vulnerability. The ministry also developed a national strategy of ending child marriage and teenage pregnancy of 2022-2023, 2026-2027, geared at strengthening family and community capacity with emphasis of getting back the practice of having a child being owned by the whole community. I'm Nanfuka Faridah in Kampala.